and they brought me in, and I was wearing a stars and stripes bikini and a red cowboy hat. Then have me dancing underneath a waterfall getting soaking wet.
Just got nervous. Okay. My name is Megan Fox.
I told my mother that I wanted to be an actress since before I can remember.
I'm a little intuitive myself. Energy into my chakras.
I had just turned 15, and I was an extra in Bad Boys 2.
I have really psychic dreams, and I also will get information that just sort of plays on a loop in my head.
Way before people were ready to embrace that or tolerate it, and I actually got ridiculed for doing it.
And those are usually inexplicable things that I shouldn't be able to know. So I do think there is something there that I wish I could expound on.
I didn't want to speak out because I didn't feel like it would be received in a positive way. Sort of speaking out against some of the abusive, misogynistic, patriarchal things that were going on in Hollywood back in 2008 and 2009.
Megan Fox was supposed to be Hollywood's next it girl. The face, the body, the name. And for a few years, she was. But then came the headlines, the firing, the backlash, and the silence. 1 minute, she was headlining one of the biggest franchises in the world. The next? Replaced. Quietly erased. So what happened? Was it her feud with Michael Bay? Her Hitler comment that allegedly triggered Steven Spielberg? Or was Megan Fox simply too honest for an industry that thrives on control and compliance? Let's rewind. Before the tabloids, the red carpets, and the relationship drama, Megan was just another teen actor with big dreams and bad roles. At 15, she was cast in Bad Boys 2 under Michael Bay. Yes, that scene. Yes, the one that critics still bring up today. Because why was a minor being filmed like that? Why did no one step in? And why is Bay still directing, as if nothing happened? It's the question that has followed Megan's career ever since. Why didn't anyone protect her? Because what happened to Megan Fox isn't rare, it's just rarely discussed. A young woman hypersexualized by Hollywood, then punished when she pushed back. And when she finally spoke up, when she finally said enough, they called her crazy, difficult, ungrateful. This is the story of a woman built by Hollywood and broken by it. From Transformers to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, from Spielberg to Machine Gun Kelly, Megan's journey is filled with missed opportunities, massive pay gaps, sabotage, and survival. It's not just a fall from grace, it's a warning. So why did she get blacklisted? Who really pulled the plug on her career? And after years of being sidelined, is there still time for Megan Fox to rise again? This isn't just about movies. It's about misogyny, media manipulation, and the high price of speaking your truth. Megan didn't fade. She was pushed. But can she push back? Let's find out. Because behind every difficult actress headline is usually a woman who dared to challenge the system. And Megan? She challenged everything. Directors, producers, studio executives. She called out toxic behavior when it wasn't trendy, when it cost you roles, not likes. She wasn't protected. She was punished. And instead of industry support, she got jokes, memes, and golden raspberry nominations. But through it all, Megan kept showing up. On red carpets, in low-budget films, in interviews where she told the truth no one wanted to hear. Maybe the real story here isn't about her fall. It's about what it takes for a woman to survive in Hollywood without selling her soul. So before you write her off, before you say she was just a pretty face, keep watching. Because Megan Fox's story is more than what the headlines told you. It's what they never wanted you to know. Megan Fox's story didn't begin with red carpets. It began on a Michael Bay set, in a bikini, at 15 years old. In 2003, Bay cast her in Bad Boys 2 as an extra in a club scene. Megan wore a stars and stripes bikini and high heels, washing a car under a waterfall because apparently, that's what teenage girls do in Bay's imagination. It wasn't just a questionable choice, it was disturbing. And it's been criticized ever since. Bay would later claim he was just following the rules, saying Megan's mother signed off on the scene. But that doesn't answer the real question. Why did the scene exist in the first place? Why was a grown man filming a minor in slow-motion sexualized shots for a few seconds of background filler? It was a red flag, a warning sign. But no one listened. Hollywood didn't just ignore it, they doubled down. Because in this industry, if you're beautiful and obedient, you're a star. If you're beautiful and outspoken, you're a problem. By the time Megan landed Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen in 2004, she was already being typecast as the hot girl, the mean girl, the girl everyone stared at but no one respected. The film wasn't a smash, but it earned $30 million on a $15 million budget. Just enough visibility to make her a contender, but not enough to make her respected. From there, the rejection piled up. Audition after audition, Megan was turned down. She came close to landing the Amityville Horror remake in 2005, but lost the role at the last minute to Melissa George. That near miss might have been a blessing in disguise, though, because it left her available for Transformers. But even that opportunity came with conditions. Michael Bay reportedly told her to gain 5 kilograms of muscle. So she trained, lifted, and dieted, trying to meet some arbitrary standard of tough but sexy. And when she finally got the role of Michaela Baines, her body became the focal point. Not her performance, not her acting, just her. She was never seen as an actress. She was seen as an accessory, a prop, something to pose next to explosions. And that's how Hollywood welcomed Megan Fox, with a camera in one hand and a warning in the other. And the worst part, it worked. The audience noticed her. The industry noticed her. But they didn't notice the danger signs, how early the pattern started, how deeply it was embedded. Megan Fox didn't stumble into the Hollywood machine. She was fed into it, groomed by it, polished for the spotlight, then blamed for the glare. All before her career had even really begun. When Transformers exploded into theaters in 2007, it turned Megan Fox into a global sensation overnight. But that explosion came with shrapnel. She wasn't cast because she was the best actress in the room. She was cast because she looked good standing next to a car. Michael Bay allegedly auditioned her by having her wash his Ferrari while he filmed her. It sounds like a parody, but it's real. And it tells you everything about how Hollywood saw Megan Fox. The character she played, Michaela Baines, wasn't written with depth. She wasn't the heart of the story or the mind behind the mission. She was the girl in the crop top leaning over an engine while the camera panned up her legs. Her performance wasn't evaluated, it was ogled. But somehow she still stood out. Shia LaBeouf got a real salary and studio praise. Megan got a cheeseburger diet and critiques about her body fat percentage. For the sequel, Bay made her gain weight again 7 kilos this time and had someone monitor her food intake. Her body was treated like a prop to be adjusted, not a person to be respected. And while Shia walked away with millions, Megan did Transformers basically for the exposure. $800,000 for the sequel. Not nothing, but a fraction of what the franchise was raking in. Especially when you realize how much she contributed behind the scenes. Because here's something most people don't know. Megan Fox was reportedly the reason Linkin Park got involved with the movie. She attended one of their concerts, got to talking with the band, and passed their interest along to producers. The rest is soundtrack history. But you won't see her credited for that. And she wasn't just underpaid, she was overshadowed. The franchise belonged to Shia, to Bay, to the robots. Megan was just the decoration. Even Tyrese Gibson said he had to pay to get his name into the credits. That's how tight the hierarchy was. You could headline the movie and still be invisible. Still, the first Transformers made nearly $710 million on a $150 million budget. It broke DVD sales records. It boosted Hasbro's toy empire. And it launched Megan into another Stratosphere magazine covers, endorsement deals, interviews about her sex symbol status. But that fame wasn't freedom. It was a trap. Every success reinforced the same message. Stay pretty, stay quiet, stay grateful. But Megan Fox had other plans. Behind the scenes, she was already starting to feel the weight of being seen but not heard. During interviews, she was asked about her looks, her body, and her chemistry with co-stars, but never her thoughts, her goals, or her work ethic. Megan wanted more, but the industry didn't want her to want more. It wanted her to smile, pose, and keep quiet. By the time Revenge of the Fallen began production, that pressure had intensified. The writer's strike meant the script was barely finished, just sketches thrown together in 3 weeks. But that didn't matter. The machines, explosions, and body shots were enough to greenlight the film. And once again, Megan found herself reduced to angles, lighting, and camera tricks. She later revealed how betrayed she felt during one specific scene involving a motorcycle. She'd been told the main camera would focus on her face, but in the final cut, there were no shots from that camera. Just a flurry of behind angles, zoom-ins, and framing that left her feeling humiliated. Her complaints? Ignored. Or worse, spun into PR fluff. And it wasn't just the camera treatment. There were real psychological tolls. Megan came from a deeply religious household. The hypersexualized image Hollywood placed on her clashed violently with her upbringing. She wasn't ashamed of her beauty, but she didn't want it to be her only value. Still, that's all they let her be. Her fee for Revenge of the Fallen went up $800,000. A step up from the first movie, but it was a drop in the bucket compared to what her face and figure were generating. Shia LaBeouf's pay skyrocketed. The studio cashed in. Even the merchandising was on fire. But Megan? Still fighting to be seen as more than just a pretty face. She was a key part of the marketing. Her posters were everywhere. Her photos sold magazines. But her voice? Muted. And despite the chaos of production, the sequel made a staggering $836 million worldwide. So who got the credit? Not the actors. Not the writers. Michael Bay did. Again, for most rising stars, that kind of success would be a launch pad. For Meghan, it became a leash. Because the more successful Transformers became, the more they expected her to fall in line. But she was done playing the role they wrote for her. She wanted out. Megan Fox walked away from Transformers, or maybe she was pushed. The truth depends on who you ask. But what's undeniable is what happened next: silence. She had been preparing for Transformers 3. She was training. She was committed. But then came the interview. Megan, tired of biting her tongue, compared Michael Bay's set to working under Hitler. She later said it was a joke, a bad one. But jokes don't matter when you're talking about Hollywood power dynamics, especially when Steven Spielberg is involved. Bay claimed it was Spielberg himself who demanded Megan be fired after the comment. Spielberg denied it. The truth? Still murky. But what mattered wasn't the facts, it was the fallout. Megan was gone. Just like that, the highest-grossing franchise of her career moved on without her. Rosie Huntington-Whiteley stepped in. The press didn't ask questions, they printed headlines. Diva behavior. Difficult to work with. Ungrateful. Megan became the punchline to her own career. It didn't matter that she'd been overworked, underpaid, and humiliated on set. It didn't matter that male co-stars said worse things and kept working. Megan was a woman who spoke up, and for that, she was punished. She found herself iced out. Studios stopped calling. The big-budget roles vanished. What followed was a string of indie projects and direct-to-video releases. Passion projects, paycheck roles, or just whatever she could get. She starred in Jennifer's Body, written by Oscar winner Diablo Cody. The film had all the right ingredients: a cult script, a fresh take on horror, and Megan Fox in the lead. But the marketing missed the mark. The studio sold it as a sexy teen flick, not a feminist horror satire. It flopped. And once again, Megan was blamed for a systems failure. Her next film, Jonah Hex, bombed harder. $50 million budget. $11 million box office. Another nail in the coffin. But the real damage had already been done. The industry had decided Megan Fox wasn't bankable. She became a ghost in Hollywood, famous but fading. Interviewers shifted from her career to her body, her relationships, her plastic surgery rumors. The narrative changed. She was no longer a star. She was a spectacle. And when she finally returned to a Michael Bay production with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it wasn't redemption, it was compromise. Bay defended her return, claiming he was never truly offended by her comments. But by then, the damage was done. Megan wasn't the rising star anymore. She was the actress with baggage. The one everyone had an opinion about, but few were willing to work with. Her time away from blockbusters wasn't spent on red carpets. It was spent in isolation. Megan has spoken about battling anxiety, insecurity, and the deep loneliness that came with being misunderstood. She wasn't a diva. She was drowning. In interviews years later, Megan would open up about the way the media treated her, about being over-sexualized, dismissed, and turned into a cultural joke. The crazy hot girl who said outrageous things, when in reality, she was trying to articulate the pain of being dehumanized. She warned us. Long before movements like #MeToo gave women a safer space to speak, Megan Fox was already saying the quiet parts out loud. But no one wanted to hear it from her, because she looked too good. And in Hollywood, if you're beautiful and in pain, they assume it's a performance. And so Megan became a cautionary tale too bold, too honest, too hot for her own good. Not safe enough to promote. Not quiet enough to control. She was everything Hollywood claimed to love, until she stopped playing the game. By the time she returned in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the rules had changed. She was cast, but not celebrated. The movie made money, but no one gave her credit. She was a placeholder, a known name, repackaged for nostalgia. And though the film performed well, the sequel bombed. The studio blamed the franchise, but the whispers around Megan grew louder again. Could she carry a movie? Was she still relevant? Nobody asked why the scripts were bad. Why was the direction hollow? Why the industry that once built her up refused to stand by her when it mattered most. Because the truth was simple. Megan Fox didn't fail Hollywood. Hollywood failed her. They built a fantasy, then punished her for being real. When Megan Fox re-emerged in the public eye, she didn't come back quietly. She returned with tattoos, bold statements, and a relationship that lit the internet on fire. Machine Gun Kelly Colson Baker wasn't just a boyfriend. He was a cultural reset. The punk rapper meets Hollywood actress storyline gave tabloids endless material, and Megan leaned into it. Matching outfits, wild interviews, red carpet PDA, suddenly, she was relevant again. But it wasn't just about headlines. This was Megan reclaiming her image. For years, others had shaped how the world saw her. Now, she was choosing how to be seen. She called MGK her twin flame. They got engaged, inked tributes on their bodies, and talked about drinking each other's blood. It was intense, and maybe that was the point. Megan wasn't interested in playing it safe anymore. She wanted to be seen on her terms even if it meant being misunderstood again. But reinvention isn't redemption. Hollywood still wasn't calling with Oscar scripts or prestige roles. Megan found herself in action thrillers and streaming exclusives, some barely cracking a 5 on IMDb. She was trying, but the industry hadn't forgotten. Still, she found other lanes. Brand deals, beauty campaigns. Her face still magnetic landed her contracts that paid well, even if the roles didn't. She made peace with the idea that she might never fully return to the A-list. But that didn't mean she'd disappear. And beneath the glam, Megan was still dealing with the emotional aftermath of her past. In interviews, she's talked about spiritual healing, motherhood, and the guilt of balancing work and parenting. She's spoken openly about therapy, about trying to forgive herself for not knowing better when she was younger. There's a quiet sadness in those admissions. The woman once labeled as Hollywood's hottest was never allowed to be soft, or scared, or human. She's 38 now, and in some ways, her comeback is still in limbo. Machine Gun Kelly? The engagement's on pause. Her career? A few projects lined up, but nothing seismic. But the difference now is choice. Megan Fox is no longer being controlled. She's not where she used to be, but she's not where she started either. Instead, she's walking a tightrope, balancing public interest with private healing, trying to evolve while the internet memes her every move. It's exhausting, and she's admitted as much. Fame never lets you off the hook. It follows you into therapy sessions and grocery store runs. It critiques your parenting, your wardrobe, your weight. And for Megan, fame has always been layered with contradiction. She was famous for being beautiful but punished for acknowledging it. Respected for her honesty but ridiculed when it didn't fit the narrative. The same media that once called her the next Angelina Jolie turned around and framed her as unstable, oversexed, or simply washed up. But through it all, she hasn't stopped pushing forward. Slowly, she's reclaiming pieces of herself one boundary at a time. She's raising 3 sons. She's writing poetry. She's no longer chasing a seat at Hollywood's table. She's building her own. And that's what makes Megan Fox's story different. It's not a traditional comeback. It's not about reclaiming a blockbuster crown or winning an award. It's about survival, reinvention, and finally being allowed to narrate her own story. There's no glossy ending, no sudden Oscar nomination or cultural redemption arc yet. But maybe that's okay. Maybe what Megan Fox is showing us now is that you don't need Hollywood's validation to have value. You don't need a franchise to prove your worth. You just need the freedom to be seen fully, truly, and on your terms. And that's what she's fighting for now. Megan Fox's story isn't over, it's just quieter now. And maybe that's the way she wants it. She's not the genie on magazine covers. She's not the blockbuster darling. She's something more complex, more grounded, more real. And that's the part Hollywood still struggles to understand. Because once they've cast you as a fantasy, they rarely accept your evolution. But here's what we know. Megan Fox endured a machine that chews people up and spits them out. She was sexualized as a teenager, mocked in her 20s, and silenced in her prime. And still, she's here. Maybe her movies aren't dominating the box office. Maybe the A-list invites stopped arriving. But Megan found something else, freedom. She's raising her children, making art on her terms, and building a life that isn't dependent on studio execs or publicists. She's also a blueprint. For every woman who's been underestimated, misrepresented, or misunderstood, Megan Fox is proof that your story doesn't end just because others walk away from it. You get to rewrite it. The media once made her a symbol of desire. Then they tried to make her a cautionary tale. But the truth is, Megan Fox is neither. She's a survivor of an industry that rewards silence and punishes honesty. And she's still standing. So if you're waiting for Megan Fox's big comeback, stop. She already made it. She just didn't need your permission. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the real Hollywood behind the headlines, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because there's more truth and more legends to uncover. Because what Megan Fox has shown us isn't just about celebrity, it's about resilience. About daring to define yourself when the world insists on defining you first. She's refused to stay in the box they built for her, even if that meant being misunderstood again and again. And while the headlines today may focus more on what she's wearing or who she's dating, the real story is quieter and far more powerful. It's the story of a woman who lost everything Hollywood promised her, and instead found clarity. A woman who doesn't chase validation, but values integrity. Who knows her worth, even if the world keeps trying to discount it. Because that's the legacy Megan Fox is building now. Not a resume filled with blockbusters, but a reputation for staying true to herself in an industry that tried to erase her. And for those still rooting for her, and there are many who know this, Megan doesn't need to fit your version of a comeback. She's not chasing approval. She's choosing a purpose. That's the real victory. So the next time you see her name in a tabloid or hear someone ask, "Whatever happened to Megan Fox?" you'll know. She never disappeared. She just stopped performing for people who weren't really watching. And if this story moved you, If it made you rethink the cost of fame or the power of reinvention, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories that challenge the narrative. Because the truth matters. And the truth is, Megan Fox isn't a failure. She's a fighter, and her story is far from over.